So cohabbing Tokay Geckos seems to be the new up-and-coming trend. I get quite a few messages every week of people asking, I want to get a pair of Tokay Geckos, I want to get a male for my female, I want to get a female for my male, etc. It just seems to be a high interest lately of a lot of people wanting to cohab Tokay Geckos. So I wanted to sit down today and really talk about what it means to cohab Tokay Geckos. There's definitely quite a few things that you need to look out for, be prepared for, and some things that can just go wrong when cohabbing these guys. It's definitely not as easy as just putting 2 tokays in a tank and calling it a day. There is a lot that goes into it than just tossing them in and again, calling it a day. I guess that's the best example I can go to. So with all that out of the way, let's sit back, relax, talk about Tokay Geckos, and roll the intro. So I'm really seeing a lot of this in not only just Tokay Geckos, but really most reptiles that are just able to form a symbiotic relationship with one another. The 2 biggest contenders I've noticed lately are going to be the red-eyed crocodile skink and the Tokay Gecko. I think first before we get into, what cohabbing is, all the things to look out for, we should really go into, what that symbiotic relationship is. So what I mean when I say symbiotic relationship is the fact that these animals are able to form a bond. They're able to bond off as pairs, not just anything like, say, crested geckos, bearded dragons, something like that, where they're just going to breed, be on their way, and that's kind of the end of it. Nope, Tokays really go into this kind of different level. It's a little more in-depth with it. These guys actually do need to form some sort of bond with each other. Not every gecko is Gecka? Really? Pretty much what I'm getting at is the fact that these geckos will pair each other off. They seem to enjoy each other's company. They will breed, get eggs. They'll actually take care of those eggs and then take care of their young. Something you see commonly with, say, crocodilians. It's a little interesting to see. It's definitely, I understand why it's an enticement for people. Breeding myself, that's one of the big reasons why I'm such a big Tokay breeder is I love seeing that relationship with the Tokay babies and the Tokay parents. Now, while I do understand the enticement of wanting to do this, and it is awesome to see that more people are breeding Tokay Geckos and producing some captive bred babies to go into the market, trying to drive down the level of importation that we are with wild-caught specimens, I do get a little concerned because, like I said in the beginning, it is not as easy as just tossing 2 tokays in and calling it a day. This isn't something where it's a guarantee that they're going to pair off, guarantee they're going to get along, guarantee they're going to get along for the rest of their life. There's a lot to go into it. So I really want to take the day and kind of explain some of that, explain some of the process that I do here, and then kind of some of the risks involved and just stuff to look out for. And kicking this off, the first thing I think we should keep in mind is the fact that not every Tokay Gecko will bond with another Tokay Gecko. While it is a little bit more on the uncommon side for them not to pair off with each other, it isn't something that's impossible. So if this is something where you just have one Tokay Gecko and you're like, oh, I want to put another one in there, I want to have this little pair, it seems there's a very big fascination with cohabitation with reptiles. And I don't know if that's just because it's some sort of this taboo of it. It's just more of an uncommon thing, so I don't know if people are like, wow, I get to see 2 animals in an enclosure instead of just one. I don't know if it's something like that or something else, but again, it's not that easy. Like I said, while it is uncommon, not every Tokay Gecko is going to like the other Tokay Gecko. Things can go wrong with this. I mean, you can get anything from territorial behaviors, anything about fighting. I mean, there's even possible links of deaths. I've seen on plenty of Facebook groups people saying that for some reason their females attacking males. They've killed multiple males. At that point, it makes me wonder why you are continuing to try. If, you purchased three Tokay males and your female keeps killing them. Number one, I think in this scenario, I think I would make sure, is it a girl? Because it's a little uncommon for that much. However, this is a situation that happens, and it's a situation that's becoming a little bit more common out there. Yeah, I think that's number one. Not every Tokay gets along. It's something you definitely have to be prepared for. It's something that you have to look out for, and it's something where you're gonna need a substitute enclosure. If you're noticing these Tokays are fighting and they're not getting along, you gotta have somewhere to put it. Especially with Tokay Geckos, that means another enclosure, at least an 18 by 18, 20 tall, 29 gallon talls, anything like that. Another spare arboreal enclosure for the lizard. That's another heat lamp, making sure those basking temps are on point. UVB if you're providing that. More decorations, things like this. The second thing I want to get into, and it's something that we kind of just mentioned before, make sure you're properly sexing these animals. Make sure you have a definite male or a definite female. Again, that's just going to dramatically increase the chance of fighting, territorial behavior, things like this if you're putting the same sex inside the same setup. Although Tokay geckos seem to be, at least for me personally, a little easy to sex, it cannot be for the newbie. When I first starting out, definitely was getting a second and third opinion, making sure that I knew that this was the male and this was a female. Some of them can be a little tough. I'll show some examples of some B-roll here. I got some females that show pretty heavy pores, to the fact where if you're talking about posting in Facebook groups, people are gonna tell you, oh yeah, that's a male right there. However, that male lays eggs, so I know for certain that that is not a male, that is a female. So I guess the big thing I'm getting at is the fact that go to an experienced breeder to make sure you're getting these animals properly sexed. It's definitely not something you should just take a quick Google pic and be like, okay, so that's the male, that's the female. Yeah, it looks male, I'll get a female. Or maybe that's not the case. It's definitely not something you should go on Facebook groups. I actually literally just had something today where someone posted a Tokay gecko in a Tokay group asking for the sex, and of course it's a female. However, it does show small pores. However, females can develop small pores just as long as they're not larger pores. It usually indicates that it's a female. I said so. However, at least one person told that person contradicting info, saying it is a male because it has pores. That person is wrong. That person now has misleading info. Alright, I think we talked enough about the beginning stuff, you know. Let's say that you do end up getting a properly sexed pair. You have a male and a female, and they seem to be getting along. They're paired off. Everything's going fine. Well, I guess that's it. I guess that's the end, you know. If you got it paired off, you're good to go. You can just leave them alone for the rest of their days. False! That is a false statement. And those Argus monitors are getting a little hungry. I'll have to feed them after this video. Jesus Christ. Getting into this next segment, let's get a little bit into what it means to breed Tokay geckos and how that process kind of looks like. Again, just because of the fact that you do get this properly sexed pair and you do have these guys that are paired off and they're looking good, that's not the end all of it. It doesn't mean that you're in the clear, everything's gonna be good. Sometimes things can go wrong, especially when you're getting into the breeding process. So of course, what does the breeding process entails? Mating off, pairing, laying eggs, hatching babies, raising babies. While this can be a very fun project, of course it is the highlight of breeding Tokay geckos, is seeing that paternal instincts. There are definitely a lot of things you need to look out for. The number one cause for Tokay geckos seem to be implementing when they are dying in the process of breeding seems to be calcium crashes. This is especially prudent with wild-caught pairs, anything that's imported, and especially when people think that they have this adult, they're not taking the precautionary quarantine process, so they're getting this adult, they're getting another adult, they're pairing it in. The fact that maybe these people aren't even searching for or looking in expecting the calcium sacs. Calcium sacs are very easy to check for Tokay geckos. They're big. I'll put a little picture right here. I'm not gonna do something like that. So a picture right here, calcium sacs. Very important to check calcium sacs for female Tokays. This is something, especially if you are just keeping a pair together all year round for the rest of their days. This is gonna inhibit a lot of breeding, sometimes overbreeding, which can lead to definitely calcium crashes. So it's definitely something while you're doing your daily maintenance, you know, mixing the cage, cleaning up, checking on babies, checking on the adults. It's definitely something you need to do. Now, Tokay geckos, it seems to be a little bit easier just because of the fact that they're always open mouth gaping at you. So for that, you can just need to get a little one of those pen lights, check it in, see those calcium sacs, and make sure that everything is good. But now let's say we're in a scenario where everything is not good. Those calcium sacs are looking a little depleted. This is definitely a scenario where you want to remove the male and the female separately. Even when the female and male are separate, the female can retain sperm, so it is very important that you are supplementing with calcium and trying to get those calcium levels up, just because of the fact that even though the male is separated from the female, that does not mean we're on the all clear. They can still retain sperm. I usually start separating my males and females when she's laid her second clutch, and at that point she'll usually lay at least 1 or 2 more clutches for me. So even with that, if you're noticing, you know, you kind of messed up, you weren't paying attention to your females looking like she's really depleted on calcium, that's a pretty kind of risky situation, even to the point where you may need a vet to get some supplement calcium in her to make sure that she has enough where she is retaining that sperm, she's going to be laying those eggs without crashing. This isn't gonna be one of those fun videos, folks. This is me just spewing like a bunch of information, just like, I'm going like 100 miles an hour just like thinking of random shit that pops in my head. So I apologize if you came here for the fun video. That'll be tomorrow. This one's just gonna be a little bit mind-numbingly ADHD info getting thrown at you. Another thing to look out for when you're pairing for long term is the fact that there can be some competition for food. This is something I'm actually just exhibiting in one of my pairs myself, one of my normal pairs. This is actually one of the first pairings that I've done. I've had them together for a little bit now. I want to say a little under a year where they've just been paired non-stop. I've never noticed any problem. Her calcium level's always been good. They usually have a nice breeding cycle for me, so she'll lay me about 3 clutches and they usually stop for a bit, and then the next year goes on, so like this is 2020. She's just now laying me clutches again. However, at this point, I am noticing a significant weight difference between the two. As you can see in this B-roll right here, my male is getting pretty chonky, pretty hefty, a pretty thick boy, if I do say so myself. However, the female's starting to look a little thin. She's looking that tail, the excess fat in that female's tail seems to be receding. She seems to be getting a little thin, and this is something that I am concerned about, and it's the fact that I am now removing that male from the female's enclosure, making sure that she's getting the food that she needs to keep up that fat, to keep up those calcium levels, to keep laying eggs and not perish. I think those were the main things I wanted to talk about. I can go more in depth, but I think I'm actually going to cut this into a second video, which will probably be like either tomorrow or the next day's video, and that's going to be what you need to know about breeding Tokay geckos. I'll get more in depth in what that really means, a lot more stuff you need to look out for, things you need to pay attention to, things like that. But for now, I think I've spewed enough information out. So pretty much that is going to wrap this bad boy up. Obviously, from everything that I've just said for the past however many minutes I've been talking, it's not as easy as just tossing them in. It's something that you definitely need to keep an eye on, watch them constantly, at least doing any of these weekly checkups, you know, making sure everything's looking good, everyone's looking nice and healthy, and a lot of stuff to keep an eye for. Definitely keep I guess my #1 recommendation if you are hell-bent on getting a pair would definitely be have a backup enclosure ready. This is not something where you just want to all of a sudden notice, oh no, my female's getting a little thin, oh no, my female's calcium sacs are looking a little depleted, but I got nowhere to put this other gecko, I don't know where to put him, and now all of a sudden, you're just, I don't know, letting them loose in your reptile room. Don't do that. Do not release your male into your reptile room and be like, oh, well, Dakota told me it was okay on a video. That was sarcasm. Please do not clip this out of context. God, those monitors are hungry. Right, so I think that is about it. That is everything I wanted to say. So, like I said, I will be making a more in-depth part of this, going into kind of the breeding part of Tokay geckos. If you want to see that, you know, why not just go down there and leave that a like, you know, make sure you're really interested into it. I'll probably do it either way, but it would be cooler of you if you left a like on the video. I'm just putting that out there. All right, this is the part where I do my outro spiel. Once again, huge shout out to Zen Habitats. They are a great company creating awesome enclosures with immaculate designs. I mean, take a look at something like this. That is perfect. Way better than your standard black PVC. This brings a whole new shebang to reptile keeping with modern decor. If you want to check out some of those setups, you can see them right down there in description, where we have a couple of other things I'm about to be talking about. Things like, oh wait, well, if you want to see some more animals in my breeding projects, I'm doing a new outro, so I'm trying to get the hang of it. Facebook, Instagram, DBCB Exotics, TikTok as well. T-shirt designs. We got this bad boy right here, Skull and Snake. That's not a cliche, that's a classic. We also got some more of these designs right here if you want to check it out. It's also down there. Well, we have Patreon. Patreon.com/DBCBExotics. You get the up-to-date info on everything that's going on in this breeding facility. Of course, we have quite a few products. I think I'm up to 5 or 6. I'm still adding some every day, or I guess every month. Every time I make money, I either add on to existing projects or I get new projects. That is just how crazy I am. I don't know why I keep doing it. It's getting pretty crazy around here, but I enjoy every minute of it. Patreon's a really cool thing. It's not something where I feel really constricted on what I do with YouTube. I have to usually do specific stuff. Patreon, I'm allowed to, or I'm just freed up to really do whatever I want. So there's a lot of these bubblegum type videos of me just messing around with my monitor lizards, some of my other reptiles, tegus, water dragons, some rare snakes, feeding stuff, check out on tokays, things like that. It's pretty cool. If that's something that you're interested in, you want to get more in-depth on what it's like to see into DBCB Exotics, maybe you want some first dibs on my animals, maybe you want some discounts on my merch and my animals, you can find that down there. There's a bunch of different tiers for a bunch of different folks. Starts as low as $1 a month. I mean, that's like a McChicken a month, my guy. Although I can understand the resistance and the hesitation, McChickens are quite tasty, but I'd really appreciate it if maybe you spent that dollar over here. That's gonna wrap it up. That is my spiel. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a great day. Your name also gets to be on the outro that we are rolling right now, so that's a cool thing. You can check out all the names. They're coming right now.